In the deep darkness of space, far beyond the reach of any known star system, an alien patrol fleet drifted quietly. It was another routine scan through empty regions of the galaxy, where nothing ever happened. The officers were relaxed, speaking little, their ship engines humming softly as they moved through the void. Then, without warning, one of the scanning officers noticed something unusual on his monitor. A strange shadow appeared on the edge of the radar field, small at first, like a flicker of interference. He frowned, adjusted the controls, and ran a check. The reading remained. It wasn't a glitch. Something was out there, slowly moving toward them. The officer hesitated, unsure what to make of it. He reported the anomaly to the fleet commander. Within seconds, the other ships turned their sensors in that direction. At first, the signal was faint, buried under layers of radiation. But as they refined their scanners, the shape became clearer. It wasn't a comet or drifting rock. The object had structure, lines, symmetry, and a metallic reflection that no natural object could produce. The commander leaned forward, staring at the display. The ship was huge, larger than anything they had encountered before. Its surface looked old, scarred, yet perfectly intact. The first words spoken in the silent command bridge sent a chill through everyone present. "It's a vessel." An eerie silence filled the room. A vessel? Out here? There were no records of any registered ships in this empty region. Every known trade route or military zone was hundreds of light years away. The sensors began to process identification data, searching through the galactic archives for a match. Nothing appeared. No registration, no known model, not even a similar design. It was completely unknown. Alarms began to sound softly across the fleet. Automated defense systems came online, preparing shields and scanning for possible energy readings. A soft voice from the ship's computer repeated a phrase that sent an uneasy feeling through everyone's heart. Unidentified warship entering engagement field. Across the patrol fleet, officers scrambled to stations. Communication lines opened between ships, voices tense and uncertain. Some believed it was a derelict, a lost ship drifting from another galaxy. Others thought it might be a new type of vessel designed by rival empires. But the more data they collected, the stranger it became. The ship was alive with energy, massive power sources deep within its hull. The readings were old, almost ancient, yet incredibly strong. The commander ordered the fleet to keep distance. No one wanted to provoke whatever this was. He instructed his crew to broadcast a peaceful signal, a standard message of contact used across civilizations. "This is a patrol fleet of the Galactic Alliance. Identify yourself." No answer came. The dark ship continued drifting closer, slow and steady, like a predator moving through calm water. Its engines made no sound. There were no visible lights, no signs of communication, only the faint reflection of distant stars gliding across its metallic surface. Minutes turned into hours as tension grew. The alien fleet held its position, watching carefully. Every few seconds, the sensors updated the image, each time revealing new details of the mysterious vessel. It had markings, strange and sharp, running along its hull in patterns no one recognized. They weren't decorative. They looked like old military insignias, faded but powerful. When the computer enhanced one section of the hull, a faint set of letters appeared, carved in a language long forgotten. The system struggled to translate, scanning historical databases for any clue. After several attempts, an ancient file opened. It was incomplete, damaged by time, but one phrase was clear: Human Defense Command. The officers stared at the words. Few had ever heard the term human. It was something from old legends, stories told by scholars and historians. A species that once existed long before most civilizations had discovered space travel. According to those tales, humans were fierce, brilliant, and unpredictable. Some believed they had destroyed themselves. Others said they had left the galaxy entirely. No one ever expected to see a human vessel again. The commander ordered a deeper scan. The data confirmed the impossible. The ship was indeed of human design. Its structure matched no modern standard. It was built for war, for endurance, and for survival. It was older than any vessel ever recorded, yet still fully functional. Across the bridge, the atmosphere changed. Fear mixed with fascination. Was this truly a human warship? How had it survived for so long, and why was it here, in a region long forgotten by the rest of the galaxy? The commander hesitated, thinking carefully. He could order the fleet to retreat, but doing so would mean losing a discovery of historical importance. Yet something deep inside him whispered caution. Stories about humans always carried the same warning: never provoke them. The mysterious ship slowed as it entered visual range. Its sheer size was breathtaking. The outer hull was covered in dark armor, thick and angular, built to withstand unimaginable forces. Across its sides, faint blue lights flickered like old systems reawakening after ages of silence. It felt less like a machine and more like a sleeping giant slowly opening its eyes. A communications officer turned in his chair, voice trembling. "Sir, it's scanning us." Every ship in the fleet felt the energy wave as it swept through them. It wasn't aggressive, but it was powerful, like a deep, low pulse that vibrated through their hulls. The crew's instruments flickered. Some systems temporarily shut down before rebooting. It was clear the ship was examining them, reading their technology, their weapon systems, even their biological signatures. The commander clenched his jaw. "Maintain position. Do not engage." Outside the viewport, the human vessel rotated slightly, revealing massive weapon turrets along its surface. They weren't active, but just the sight of them was enough to make the alien officers uneasy. These weapons were unlike anything in current use. They looked primitive and over-engineered, yet every piece of them screamed efficiency and power. Finally, the patrol fleet received a small data burst. It wasn't a message, not in the usual sense. It was a simple digital signature. When decoded, it displayed 4 words on every screen across the fleet: Terran battleship, Iron Resolve. Those words hit harder than any weapon. Terran was an ancient word meaning of Earth. The humans had once called themselves Terrans. It was real. There was no mistake. They were facing a genuine human war vessel, one that shouldn't even exist anymore. For the next several minutes, the alien commanders tried to decide what to do. Some argued they should retreat immediately. Others wanted to stay and observe. The commander decided on a cautious middle path. He ordered the fleet to slowly back away, giving the human ship space while continuing to monitor from a safe distance. As they moved, the strange vessel did not follow. It remained in position, silent and still, as if it was studying them. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, its engines came alive. A dull, glowing light spread from its rear thrusters, and the ship began to move again past the fleet, deeper into uncharted space. The alien commander watched through the main screen, feeling a strange mix of relief and wonder. He couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than coincidence. Something inside him told him that this was only the beginning. After the human vessel disappeared beyond sensor range, the silence that followed was heavy. The crew slowly returned to their duties, but no one spoke. It was as if they all sensed they had witnessed something that would change history. Later, in the commander's private quarters, he replayed the sensor footage. Frame by frame, he studied the massive warship. The words Iron Resolve glowed faintly on its side, a name that seemed to carry the weight of a forgotten era. He wondered who built it, who commanded it, and how it had survived untouched through ages of cosmic change. Reports were sent to higher command, and soon every major power in the galaxy knew of the event. Governments began searching old archives. Historians were summoned and debates erupted. Was humanity really gone, or had they been sleeping somewhere all this time? Days later, the patrol fleet received a short transmission from a distant outpost. Another unidentified signal had appeared, different yet similar in design. The words in the message were chillingly familiar. Foreign warship detected, origin human. The commander stared at the screen, realizing what it meant. The Iron Resolve was not alone, and somewhere out there the humans were stirring once more. The galaxy had just witnessed the first sign of their return. The strange encounter with the mysterious ship had shaken the entire alien patrol fleet. Reports of the event spread quickly through communication channels, reaching every command post in their alliance. At first, many leaders refused to believe it. They called it a malfunction, an illusion created by sensor errors. But as the data poured in, denial became impossible. Every scan, every log, and every visual recording confirmed it. The ship that had crossed their path was not alien at all. It was human. In the central hub of the Galactic Archive, researchers gathered to examine the evidence. The image of the enormous war vessel hovered above a holographic table. Its surface showed deep scars, ancient markings, and armor plates that seemed to belong to another era. The energy readings alone were enough to make scientists speechless. No known civilization could produce that level of power with such minimal fuel use. It was as if the ship's very core ran on forgotten technology. The lead historian adjusted the display and opened the oldest recorded files about humanity. Most were fragmented or erased, lost in time, but even broken records told a story. They described a race that once lived on a blue planet circling a small yellow star. They had spread across the stars rapidly, building colonies, ships, and fleets. They had fought countless wars, some among themselves, some against unknown threats beyond the galactic rim. Then, almost overnight in historical terms, humanity vanished. No one knew how or why. Some believed they had destroyed themselves through endless conflict. Others claimed they had evolved into something beyond physical form. There were even myths that said they had sealed themselves away, waiting for a time when the galaxy would need them again. The newly discovered signal from the Iron Resolve changed everything. It wasn't just a rumor. It was proof that humanity still existed. As the Alien Alliance analyzed the ship's message, they found something strange. The transponder code embedded in the signal was thousands of years old, written in an ancient Terran military format. It wasn't a random code. It was an identification marker once used by the Human Defense Command, a powerful force that had governed entire regions of the galaxy in ages past. The commander of the patrol fleet who first saw the Iron Resolve was summoned to give testimony. Standing in front of a vast council, he described every detail: the ship's movements, the energy scans, the silent broadcast that froze their systems. He told them about the strange pulse that swept through their ships like a wave, gentle yet overwhelming. When he finished, the council hall was quiet. The leaders exchanged uneasy glances. The idea of humans returning after so long made everyone uncertain. One of the elder members finally spoke. "If they have come back," he said slowly, "then the balance of the galaxy will change again." Outside the council chambers, rumors spread like wildfire. Every trader, captain, and traveler had their own version of the story. Some said the humans were back to conquer what they lost. Others believed they had come as protectors. A few even whispered that the Iron Resolve was only a scout, the first sign of something much larger on its way. But deep in the research centers of the Galactic Archive, scientists continued to dig through the oldest digital ruins, searching for any clue that could explain why the humans vanished. After days of searching, they finally found something buried in a corrupted file cluster, an old communication log recorded by an ancient probe. The probe had been drifting near a dying star when it picked up a faint distress signal. The words were distorted and filled with static, but a few lines were readable. The voice was calm, almost emotionless, and unmistakably human. "This is Command Vessel Iron Resolve, initiating long-range isolation protocol. All fleets entering stasis until further notice. Mission classified. Humanity endures," that was it. Just a short message, centuries old but powerful enough to silence every researcher in the room. It meant that the humans hadn't been destroyed. They had chosen to disappear. They had gone into some form of deep stasis or isolation, hiding their fleets and worlds from the rest of the galaxy. The question was, why? Theories flooded in. Some believed humans had seen a threat the rest of the galaxy couldn't understand. Others thought they had reached such an advanced level that they no longer wanted to interfere with younger species. Whatever the truth, it was clear they hadn't vanished by accident. Meanwhile, across distant star systems, more unusual readings began to appear. Isolated stations reported strange sensor echoes, massive metallic structures drifting in forgotten space. Some were too far to reach. Others vanished before anyone could get close. But the energy signatures were eerily similar to those of the Iron Resolve. The galaxy's most powerful nations started to panic quietly. Secret meetings were held. Military fleets were upgraded. Intelligence agencies began sending deep space probes toward regions marked as human territories in the oldest star maps. None of them returned. One particular scientist, an old historian who had spent his life studying human myths, was invited to speak before the ruling council. He walked slowly to the center of the hall, carrying only a small data tablet. His voice was calm but carried weight. "You fear them because you don't understand them," he said. "But remember this. Humanity built its empire not through domination but through survival. They fought not just others but the very universe itself. When they vanished, chaos grew. Perhaps their return is not a threat, but a warning. His words left the room silent. In a far corner of the galaxy, the Iron Resolve continued its quiet journey. Inside its massive hull, ancient systems slowly awakened one by one. Dormant machines came to life. Cold corridors lit up with dim blue light. Somewhere deep within the ship, a control core monitored its surroundings with a patient awareness. It was not a mind as we understand it, but something close, a fusion of intelligence and purpose. The ship's last recorded mission was still active. Its goal had never changed. It was not here by mistake. It had returned because it was time. As it glided silently through the dark, the Iron Resolve picked up signals from nearby civilizations. It analyzed them, categorized them, and stored the data. Languages evolved, alliances formed and fell. But the ship remembered everything from the old world. The wars, the peace treaties, the rise and fall of countless species. One signal caught its attention. It was a faint distress call from a small alien freighter stranded near a collapsing moon. The human ship approached slowly, scanning the vessel. Its crew was terrified at first, thinking they were under attack. But instead of firing, the massive ship extended a field of energy that stabilized the freighter's damaged hull. The small ship drifted safely out of danger. Before the crew could even send thanks, the Iron Resolve vanished again into the shadows of space. News of that rescue spread fast. It confirmed what many had started to believe. The human ship wasn't hostile. It acted with purpose, not aggression. Still, no one understood its true mission. Soon, the Galactic Alliance intercepted another ancient file transmitted by the human vessel. It contained fragments of history, records of old human fleets, lists of lost colonies, and a long string of coordinates pointing to distant regions of unexplored space. Alongside it was a single message written in the old Terran language, translated by historians after long effort. It said, "We watched the galaxy forget us. We waited until it lost its way. Now we return not for conquest, but to remember who we were." The message spread like a spark in dry grass. Across the galaxy, people argued and speculated. Some wanted to welcome the humans back. Others wanted to prepare for war, fearing what such power could mean. Governments tightened control of their borders. Religious groups formed, claiming the humans were ancient guardians who had come to restore balance. But the truth remained hidden behind the silence of the Iron Resolve. It offered no answers, no warnings, just quiet presence. For those who had seen it up close, one feeling lingered. The ship was not searching for enemies. It was searching for something else. Perhaps home. Perhaps a signal from others of its kind. In the coming weeks, more reports came in. Weak transmissions detected from forgotten sectors. Each one carried the same digital signature: Terran battleship, status active. It was no longer a rumor. The humans were waking up. And though no one in the galaxy knew what that meant, one thing was certain: the silence of the past had finally been broken. The galaxy, for the first time in thousands of years, would remember what it meant when a human war vessel registered on their scanners. Because wherever they appeared, history itself began to move again. The entire galaxy seemed to be holding its breath. Every major power, every research center, every fleet in the Alliance now had one thing on their screens: the same set of coordinates where the mysterious human ship, the Iron Resolve, had last been detected. Across command stations and monitoring posts, officers watched quietly, afraid to look away from their displays. The ship hadn't moved for several hours. It was floating just beyond the border of known space, completely still, as if it was waiting for something. For the alien fleet closest to its location, the silence was unbearable. They had orders not to engage, but to observe, and yet observation alone felt dangerous. The Iron Resolve's presence was unlike anything they had experienced. Even though it did nothing, it felt like it could see everything. Inside the flagship of the observing fleet, the commander sat motionless. Every few minutes he checked the data feed, same result. No messages, no weapons activity, just a steady signal pulsing softly from the human ship, like a heartbeat. Finally, he decided to take a risk. "Send a standard contact message," he ordered calmly. A communication officer prepared the transmission, carefully choosing the safest possible greeting: neutral, peaceful, translated into over 50 galactic languages. The message was short. Unidentified vessel. This is a peaceful fleet of the Galactic Alliance. Please identify yourself. The message was sent. Then came the waiting. Seconds turned into minutes. Minutes turned into an hour. The Iron Resolve didn't reply. It remained still, silent, unreadable. Some of the crew began to whisper, wondering if the humans even used the same communication systems anymore. Others suggested the ship might be unmanned, controlled by old artificial intelligence from the ancient human era. Just when everyone began to think there would be no answer, something changed. The lights on the Iron Resolve flickered once faintly. Then a low-frequency pulse rippled across space, reaching every ship in the observing fleet. It wasn't an explosion or attack. It was like a deep echo that passed through the hulls, through the air, even through the crew's chests. The sound was so low it was more a feeling than a noise, a vibration that made the heart beat faster. Every monitor in the fleet went dark for a second. Then they rebooted one by one. Systems restarted automatically, but something strange had happened. All scanners were blank. The fleet could no longer see the human ship on their radar. It was as if it had vanished. The crew looked out the main viewing panels, and there it was, still there, right in front of them, perfectly visible to the naked eye, but completely invisible to their machines. Panic began to rise. The communication systems flickered again, but before anyone could react, a new signal appeared on the main screen. It wasn't a broadcast from the fleet. It was from the human ship. A single line of text scrolled slowly across the screen. This sector is restricted. You are trespassing in a Terran war zone. No one spoke for a long time. The air in the command center felt heavy, like gravity had doubled. The words were simple, but the meaning behind them was enormous. Terran meant human, and war zone meant this area wasn't theirs anymore. It belonged to the humans. The commander stared at the message. War zone? He repeated softly, trying to understand. There had been no wars here for thousands of years. This was a quiet region, a forgotten stretch of space, so why would the humans claim it as their own battlefield? The signal faded, but the human ship remained. Its engine started to hum softly, glowing with a calm blue light. It wasn't preparing to attack. It seemed to be activating old systems, one after another, as if testing its own strength after a long sleep. The fleet's communication officer tried once more to send a peaceful message. Unknown Terran vessel, we mean no harm. We come in peace. We request dialogue. This time there was no pulse, no vibration, only silence. And then, out of nowhere, the Iron Resolve began to transmit something else. It wasn't words this time. It was a stream of data, thousands of symbols, coordinates, and fragments of digital code. The fleet's translators tried to process it, but the language was too old, too complex. The computers struggled to keep up, filling the screens with endless lines of text. When the translation finally began to make sense, a picture started to form. It was a map, an ancient one showing sectors of space that didn't even exist on modern charts. The areas were marked with faded lines and strange icons, some labeled human territory, others marked restricted zone. The officers looked at one another. It wasn't a threat. It was a message from the past. The ship wasn't attacking, it was reminding them. It was showing them where humanity once stood. The commander realized the truth then. The Iron Resolve wasn't just a warship. It was a messenger, a fragment of history awakening to declare that humans hadn't vanished. They had been here all along, hidden, waiting. As the fleet studied the transmission, they noticed something strange. At the center of the map was a glowing point brighter than the rest. The coordinates matched an area far beyond the galactic border, deep into what explorers called the Silent Expanse, a place no one dared to travel. The implication was clear. That was where the humans were, or where they had gone. Just as the crew began to process this, the Iron Resolve shifted position slightly. Its weapons ports opened, not in a threatening way, but slowly, like a stretch after a long rest. Small drones detached from its sides and floated into space, forming a circular pattern around the ship. Each one emitted a soft beam of light that connected them like threads of energy. The fleet's sensors detected a powerful but stable field forming around the human ship. It wasn't aimed outward, it was defensive. The Iron Resolve was protecting itself, not preparing for attack. Then something extraordinary happened. From the ship's hull, A new signal was released. Not data, not warning, but sound. A human voice, calm, mechanical, yet oddly alive. It echoed through every translator on the observing fleet. Protocol 1 activated, it said. First contact. Non-hostile acknowledgement. Stand by for assessment. The fleet froze. For the first time, the human ship was speaking directly to them. The voice continued, smooth and steady. Analyzing local civilizations. Technology level, moderate. Stability index, uncertain. Threat level, low. Then the voice paused for a long moment before saying, acknowledged. Observation mode active. Terran presence re-established. The signal ended. The alien officers sat in stunned silence. None of them knew how to respond. They weren't just dealing with an ancient ship. They were being analyzed by it. One young technician whispered, "It's studying us like we're the new ones here." The commander nodded slowly. "To them," he said quietly, "we are." For the next few hours, the Iron Resolve remained where it was, scanning the surrounding space. Its movements were deliberate, graceful, almost thoughtful. Every action seemed to have meaning, like it was following a pattern or an ancient rulebook written long before their time. The crew began to notice something else. The human ship wasn't completely alone. Tiny energy signatures appeared on the edges of their sensors, too weak to identify clearly. They looked like other ships, smaller, maybe older, and they were responding faintly to the Iron Resolve's transmissions. It was calling out to others, one by one. The faint signals began to vanish into the dark. But the fact they had answered at all meant one thing. The Iron Resolve wasn't the last of its kind. As night cycles passed, the observing fleet continued to record and study every move. The humans had spoken only once, but that was enough to send waves of fear and wonder throughout the galaxy. Back at the Central Alliance headquarters, the message was replayed over and over. The voice, though mechanical, carried something that no machine could fake, a sense of confidence, of purpose, of quiet warning. One phrase from the message became famous across every system: Terran presence re-established. It sounded simple, but everyone understood its weight. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, not with an army, not with fire, but with a quiet reminder that they had never truly left. As days turned into weeks, the Iron Resolve remained in position, its bright blue light softly glowing against the darkness. Every passing ship that entered the region received the same warning. Restricted sector, Terran jurisdiction. Most turned back immediately. No one dared to test the boundaries, and yet far away, deep within the stars, other faint signals began to wake, one after another. Each carried the same signature. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning of a much larger awakening. The first contact had been made, and the humans, after sleeping for countless ages, had just opened their eyes. The galaxy had begun to whisper. Ever since the Iron Resolve had spoken those few words, Terran presence re-established. People everywhere had felt something change in the air. The message spread faster than any ship could travel. From the outer mining colonies to the crowded trade worlds, everyone was talking about the same thing. The humans were back. Some said it was only one ship, a lost relic from the past that had somehow reactivated itself. Others believed it was just the first of many. Rumors grew wild, stories of fleets hidden in deep space, of entire human worlds asleep beneath frozen stars, waiting for the right time to awaken. But while the galaxy argued, one fleet didn't have the luxury of guessing. It was still out there, face to face with the Iron Resolve. For days, the alien commander and his crew kept their distance, carefully watching the massive vessel drift silently. The human ship wasn't hostile, but it wasn't friendly either. It simply existed with a calm that was almost unnerving, as if it had already calculated every possible move they could make. Each day, the alien officers sent peaceful greetings. And each day there was no response. Only that same quiet blue glow pulsing from the ship's engines, lighting the darkness like a heartbeat. Finally, orders came from the Central Council. They wanted answers. They wanted proof. The commander was told to move closer, to test the human vessel's reaction to see if it would engage or remain passive. It wasn't an act of war, just a cautious test. The fleet moved in slowly, their ships aligning into a defensive formation. Every movement was careful, controlled. As the distance closed, the human ship remained still, almost indifferent. Then for the first time, one of its sensors turned toward them. It wasn't aggressive, just curious. A beam of soft light passed over the alien ships, scanning them one by one. Their systems flickered as if being read by invisible hands. Within seconds, the Iron Resolve knew everything about them: their weapons, shields, energy levels, even the number of beings aboard each vessel. It was a simple reminder of who had the upper hand. The alien commander hesitated. His instincts told him to back away, but his orders were clear. He had to hold position. He opened a communication channel again, voice steady but cautious. "Unknown Terran vessel, this is a peaceful request. We seek communication and understanding." For a long moment there was silence. Then across every frequency came the same deep voice that had spoken before, calm, emotionless yet heavy with authority. "Foreign fleet, you have entered a classified sector. This area is under Terran observation. Do not interfere." The message repeated once, then faded. The commander exchanged looks with his officers. They could hear it clearly. It wasn't a threat, but it was an order. A line had been drawn. Still, one of the younger officers couldn't resist. "What are they observing?" he whispered quietly. "There's nothing here," but he was wrong. The Iron Resolve suddenly shifted, turning slightly toward a distant asteroid belt. Its sensors lit up, scanning something deep within the rocks. The alien fleet adjusted their focus too, and what they found made them freeze. Hidden among the asteroids were structures, huge metal shapes half buried in stone and dust. They weren't natural formations. They were ships. Old ships. Human ships, hundreds of them. The Iron Resolve was not alone after all. Before the fleet could even process the discovery, something unexpected happened. A faint energy ripple moved through the asteroid field. The dormant ships began to stir. Their engines didn't ignite, but their power cores flickered faintly, like candles coming back to life. The entire fleet watched in disbelief as the dark field came alive with faint blue light. The Iron Resolve broadcasted a new signal, one long, echoing pulse that resonated through the void. It wasn't words this time. It was a call. The alien commander's heart pounded. He knew what was happening. The human ship wasn't preparing to fight. It was awakening something far older and larger than anyone had imagined. He opened a direct line to the human vessel, voice trembling slightly. "Terran vessel, we mean no harm. Please stop this signal." No response. Instead, the Iron Resolve's energy readings spiked. The entire asteroid field began to vibrate as the long-sleeping ships responded to the call. Some broke free from the rocks, rising slowly, pieces of dust and stone drifting away like smoke. The sight was breathtaking. Dozens of colossal vessels, each ancient and scarred, moving as if waking from a long dream. At that moment, the Council on the alien homeworld sent urgent orders: pull back immediately. The observing fleet was to retreat and avoid any direct confrontation. But before they could move, something even stranger happened. The Iron Resolve emitted another pulse. This one softer, calmer. The human ships in the asteroid field stopped moving. The blue lights dimmed slightly. Then one by one they powered down again, returning to silence. The crew on the observing fleet sat in stunned quiet. Whatever the Iron Resolve had done, it had complete control over those ships. It could wake them, command them, and put them back to rest with a single signal. Then the human ship turned its sensors back toward the alien fleet. For a brief moment, everyone aboard felt as if they were being watched directly. Not just by machines, but by something conscious, something aware. Moments later, a new transmission appeared on their screens. It wasn't a warning this time. It was a simple message translated automatically into their language. Observation complete. Presence confirmed. Return to your sectors. The Terran fleet does not seek conflict. It was as if the humans had sensed their fear and were offering reassurance. But even that reassurance carried weight, because it also meant they had the power to end the situation at any time. The commander slowly ordered his fleet to back away. Engines flared softly as the ships began to turn. No one dared to speak. As they pulled back, the Iron Resolve remained still, guarding the silent field of ancient vessels. Its engines glowed faintly, casting long shadows across the drifting stones. Even from a distance, the alien commander couldn't help but feel awe. The human ship didn't act like a weapon. It acted like a guardian, ancient, powerful, patient. When the fleet reached a safe distance, the commander sent his final report to the council. His message was brief but clear. Contact with Terran warship complete. Engagement avoided. Their technology surpasses known limits. Intent remains neutral, possibly protective. Recommend no interference. That report spread quickly. Within days, governments across the galaxy began to rethink everything they knew. How much human technology was still hidden out there? How many ships were sleeping beneath the stars waiting for the Iron Resolve's call? In the weeks that followed, small trading vessels and explorers began to report strange sightings. Glimpses of massive shapes in distant systems, faint blue lights flickering in the void, signals that matched the Iron Resolve's pattern. Some believed they were reflections or illusions, but others swore they had seen real ships, silent watchers scattered across the galaxy. No one knew what the humans were planning. On the surface of peaceful worlds, people looked to the stars differently now. Children pointed upward at night, asking their elders who the humans were. The old stories returned, the legends of the war titans, the ones who had once protected the galaxy before disappearing. In one quiet system, a farmer looking through his telescope swore he saw a large object moving slowly across the sky, like a dark whale drifting through deep water. The next morning, communication beacons in that region recorded a brief message repeating once before disappearing forever. Iron Resolve, patrol complete. Even though the humans had not attacked, their return had shaken the entire order of the galaxy. For the alien commander who had seen the Iron Resolve up close, sleep became difficult. Every night when he closed his eyes, he saw the blue glow of that massive ship and the silent army hidden behind it. He knew something deep and unspoken, that the humans hadn't just awakened by chance. They were preparing for something larger than anyone could imagine. And in that quiet moment, as the Iron Resolve drifted once more into the depths of the galaxy, it sent one final, private transmission to no one and everyone at once. The observation phase is complete. Begin Phase 2. No one knew what Phase 2 was, but across the stars, sensors started detecting faint energy signatures. Signals from faraway systems, all carrying the same code. Terran vessels were waking up everywhere. The age of silence was ending, and the galaxy, for the first time in thousands of years, realized what it truly meant when a human warship entered the field. It didn't bring destruction, it brought history back to life. When the Iron Resolve disappeared back into the depths of space, silence returned. But it wasn't the same silence as before. It was heavier now. It carried meaning, fear and wonder all at once. Every world, every race, every council meeting across the galaxy was talking about the same thing. The humans. Who were they now? What were they planning? Why had they returned after so long? For generations, the galaxy had lived under one belief, that humans were gone, wiped away in the Great Collapse. Old archives said they were too ambitious, too unpredictable, too powerful. They built weapons that could tear apart moons, ships that could cross entire galaxies, and machines that could think and feel. But after one great war thousands of years ago, they vanished. Not destroyed, not defeated, simply gone. Like a storm that ends suddenly, leaving behind quiet air and broken clouds. The Iron Resolve's reappearance had shaken that old belief. At first, most leaders wanted to deny it. It's impossible, they said. A trick, a fabrication. But the data was clear. The ship's energy readings matched ancient Terran signatures. Its construction design matched human patterns. Its code was unmistakable. The galaxy had no choice but to accept the truth. Humanity had returned. Still, there was one question no one could answer. Why now? Across thousands of star systems, scientists began scanning for signals, searching for any trace of the mysterious Phase 2 transmission that the Iron Resolve had broadcast before disappearing. Weeks passed. Nothing. Then one morning, something strange happened in the quiet corner of a forgotten system. It started with a flicker. An old communication station orbiting a dead world suddenly came to life. Its lights blinked weakly, then stabilized. The crew stationed there, mostly researchers and technicians, were startled. The station hadn't received a single transmission in decades. The signal came through with a low hum, carrying static that slowly formed into sound. It wasn't a distress call or a greeting. It was something else and something old. At first, the words were broken, distorted. But as the signal stabilized, the message became clear. This is a Terran broadcast, automated message sequence Alpha 5. If you are receiving this transmission, it means the observation protocol has completed. Humanity is returning. The researchers froze. None of them moved for several seconds. The message repeated, calm and clear. Then, after a short pause, another voice followed. This one older, slower, human. To whoever finds this message, know that we did not disappear. We stepped away. We left because the galaxy was not ready. Our wars became too large, too dangerous. We feared what we had become. So we went into silence, to rebuild, to heal, to remember who we were. The voice carried emotion. Even through static, you could feel the weight of memory, the pain behind every word. We built guardians to watch in our place, the voice continued. Ships with minds of their own, protectors bound by purpose, to ensure that if chaos rose again, there would be balance. The researchers leaned closer to their screens, hearts pounding. The voice paused for a moment, then spoke softly again. The Iron Resolve is one of them. There are many more. Each one sleeps in a sector of importance. They are not weapons of conquest, but of memory. They hold the history of who we were, and the truth of what happened before the collapse. One of the technicians whispered quietly, This isn't just a signal. It's a record, a confession. The message continued, growing quieter as if it came from far away. If you are not of Earth, do not fear. We do not seek war. But know this, humanity remembers. We always remember. The message ended there. For a long time, no one spoke. Then the chief researcher slowly stood up, her voice shaking. Send this to the Galactic Council, she said. Every species must hear this. Within hours, the message spread across the network. Worlds stopped trading, ships halted mid-flight, and in cities everywhere, people gathered around public screens to listen. The human voice, ain't so old, so calm, echoed through marketplaces, starports, and quiet homes. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a truth that had been waiting for too long. Soon, historians began digging through old archives, trying to piece together forgotten parts of human history. They discovered something remarkable. Fragments of old treaties signed between humans and dozens of other civilizations, all dated long before the collapse. In those ancient documents, humanity wasn't a conqueror. It was a protector, a mediator, a force that kept balance between warring species. Somewhere along the line, that image had been erased, replaced by fear and rumor. Now, that truth was returning. But not everyone saw it the same way. While some races welcomed the return, hoping it meant a new age of peace, others were terrified. They remembered the stories of human strength, of how even their smallest fleets could change the course of wars. They remembered the machines that humans built, machines that could think faster than any living mind. Whispers spread again. What if they're not here to protect? Someone said. What if they're here to rule again? The council was divided. Half wanted to reach out, to re-establish contact and build a bridge. The other half wanted to prepare defenses in case the humans decided otherwise. But before any decision could be made, something else happened. A signal appeared again, not from the same system, but from 3 different corners of the galaxy. All at once, each signal was identical. Each carried the same pattern as the Iron Resolve's transmission. And each ended with the same words, Phase 2, memory activation in progress. The council chambers erupted into chaos. Scientists rushed to analyze the new signals. Military observers scanned their skies, expecting fleets to appear, but nothing came. Instead, across various worlds, strange things began to happen. Old satellites, long dead, abandoned centuries ago and flickered back to life. Ancient outposts buried under dust began transmitting faint blue lights into the sky. Even derelict human colonies thought to be empty started showing signs of automated systems, reactivating. It was as if the past itself was waking up. One small cargo vessel passing through an uncharted sector reported seeing something extraordinary. A massive floating structure, half ruined, half alive. Its surface was covered in old Terran symbols. When they tried to scan it, their systems briefly displayed a message written in ancient English. Archive Station 01, Memory Core, Preserve, Protect, Endure. Before they could approach, the structure vanished from their radar, cloaked behind an unknown energy field. The report went viral. The people of the galaxy began to realize something. Humanity wasn't just back. They were restoring their old network piece by piece. The term memory activation took on a new meaning. It wasn't about weapons or war. It was about history. The humans were rebuilding their lost archives, perhaps to remind everyone, including themselves, of who they truly were. In schools, teachers began telling children about the ancient humans, about how they once united species instead of dividing them. Museums started reopening forgotten human sections. Songs and poems inspired by the iron resolve began spreading across the networks. It felt like the galaxy was slowly remembering too. But deep inside, one thought still lingered. Why now? Why had humanity chosen to return at this exact time? Some said it was because the galaxy had finally fallen back into balance and it was safe for them to return. Others believed there was another reason, something the humans had foreseen long ago. Far away in the dark corners of space, the iron resolve drifted silently once again. Inside its command deck, ancient systems glowed faintly. On one of its monitors, an old human message replayed in a loop. A message meant only for the ship's AI. When the stars begin to dim, awaken. When silence falls too long, remember who we are. Not destroyers. Not rulers. Guardians. The ship's central core pulsed softly, as if understanding. It began transmitting a new signal, faint, almost invisible, toward a region no one had explored in millennia. The message carried only one phrase: prepare the return of the Council of Earth. No one in the galaxy heard that transmission. Not yet, but soon they would, because the iron resolve wasn't just the first. It was the messenger. And somewhere beyond the stars, in a place lost to time, something vast and ancient stirred. Something human. The message that had traveled through the stars, prepare the return of the Council of Earth, never reached the galaxy's common communication networks. It was too faint, too old, and encoded in a language only human machines understood. But the iron resolve knew exactly where to send it. Far beyond the edge of known space, in a region hidden behind layers of dark energy fields, an ancient station floated quietly among the stars. It was massive, shaped like a ring wrapped around a small artificial sun. From the outside, it looked abandoned. No lights, no movement, no life. For thousands of years, no one had come near it, but deep inside its metal heart, something began to awaken. At first, it was only a flicker, a soft pulse in the power core. Then one by one, the systems came alive. Screens that had been dark for centuries glowed with soft blue light. Machines hummed quietly, dust falling away from their surfaces. The station's central computer scanned the incoming signal. When it confirmed the origin, Terran Warship, Iron Resolve, a deep voice, calm and ancient, filled the control chamber. Council of Earth reactivation confirmed. Begin awakening sequence, and so the process began. Across the galaxy, no one knew what was happening. The alien fleet still searched for answers. Scientists still studied the human transmissions, and ordinary people still looked up at the night sky, wondering what would happen next, but far away. Humanity's oldest secret was stirring. The Council of Earth, once the highest seat of human civilization, had never been destroyed. It had gone into hibernation, hidden within that massive station called Sol Bastion. There, the most advanced minds, the wisest leaders, and the greatest archives of human knowledge had slept, waiting for the moment they were needed again. Now, after 50,000 years, they were waking. Inside the chamber of the council, figures stood within capsules of clear light. Slowly, the capsules opened with a faint hiss. They weren't human in the ordinary sense anymore. Their bodies were enhanced, their minds connected to vast networks of stored memory. Yet behind their calm expressions there was something deeply human, the spark of consciousness, of memory, of emotion. One of them looked out at the slowly brightening chamber. "How long has it been?" the voice asked quietly. "Approximately 50,000 solar cycles," replied the station's AI. The figure took a deep breath. Then it's time. Around them, holographic maps came alive, stars, planets, and systems scattered like dust in the air. Red marks appeared where civilizations had risen and fallen. Blue marks showed where human relics still lay hidden, watched over by guardian ships like the Iron Resolve. "We left to protect them," said another council member softly. We wanted them to grow without fear of us. Yes, the first replied. But it seems the galaxy has forgotten who we were. The AI's calm voice interrupted. Observation data from the Iron Resolve indicates that the younger civilizations have become divided. Some seek peace. Others prepare for conflict. Fear of humanity's return is spreading. Silence filled the chamber. Then the leader of the council stepped forward. Then we must remind them, not through war, but through truth. He raised a hand and the holographic projection changed. It showed the location of thousands of Terran archives scattered across the galaxy. Activate all memory vaults, he ordered. Let them see what we truly were. And across the stars, it began. Old ruins lit up for the first time in ages. Forgotten monuments on distant worlds started glowing faintly with blue lines of energy. Entire landscapes shimmered as hidden structures rose slowly from beneath the ground. On one planet, a group of explorers stood in shock as the sand beneath their feet split open, revealing a smooth, metallic surface. The markings were human, old Earth symbols. When they touched it, a hologram appeared above the surface. An image of a human figure speaking in calm tones. Once we walked among you. We taught, we learned, we shared. We were not gods or conquerors. We were seekers, of peace, of knowledge, of meaning. The explorers recorded it, and within hours the message spread across the galaxy. Suddenly, the humans didn't seem like myths anymore. They were real, and their words carried warmth instead of threat. Across different worlds, similar events unfolded. On a frozen moon, an ancient library came alive, its walls showing star maps and records of the first interspecies alliances. On a desert world, a monument began projecting human art, music, and voices from an age-long past. Even on space stations where humans had once traded, holographic figures reappeared, smiling, speaking softly, telling stories of friendship and unity. The galaxy was watching history awaken, but there was still one more step left, the return of the Council itself. From the hidden region where Sol Bastion drifted, a transmission began, not in human language, but in every language known across the galaxy. The signal carried emotion, tone, and intent, understandable by all intelligent species. It said only this: we are humanity. We return not as rulers, but as rememberers. We come to share, not to take. Let us build the bridge once more. The message spread like wildfire. On countless worlds, people stopped what they were doing and simply listened. There was something powerful about those words, something ancient, honest, and human. It reminded the galaxy that power didn't always mean domination. Sometimes it meant responsibility. The Council of Earth prepared for its first appearance. The Iron Resolve was already on its way to escort them. As it emerged from the hidden field and joined the galaxy's main space lanes, its presence was no longer met with fear. Instead, ships from other civilizations followed it, not to fight but to witness. When the Sol Bastion finally appeared from the shadows of deep space, it was a sight no one could forget. The great ring-shaped station shimmered with soft light as the artificial sun at its center flared awake. Thousands of ships gathered around it, watching silently. The transmission began again, live this time, with the faces of the Human Council visible for the first time in 50 millennia. Their faces were calm, wise, almost ethereal, yet unmistakably human. We are the descendants of Earth, the leader spoke. We left the galaxy to heal its wounds. We now return to ensure those wounds never open again. You have grown, you have learned, and you have built wonders we once only dreamed of. We honor that. He paused, looking directly into the camera. We do not seek to rule. We seek to guide, to protect balance, not through war but through remembrance. The galaxy fell silent. Even the most cautious leaders felt something shift in their hearts. It was as if an old parent had returned, not to command but to remind their children of where they came from. As days passed, humanity began opening communication channels with other worlds. They shared knowledge, clean energy systems, healing technologies, and star mapping data from forgotten corners of the universe. Everywhere they went, they carried calmness and clarity. The old fear slowly turned into respect, and for the first time in ages, the galaxy wasn't divided by suspicion or greed. It was united by curiosity. Curiosity about the humans who had once vanished, and now returned with stories older than stars. The Iron Resolve continued its quiet patrol, a symbol of strength not used but held in peace. It became known as the Sentinel of Memory. Pilots passing nearby would often salute as they crossed its path. Some said the ship would blink its blue lights in reply like a nod, a quiet acknowledgement between travelers of the stars. In time, new alliances formed, not ruled by fear, but by understanding. The Council of Earth didn't lead as conquerors. They acted as mediators, guardians, and sometimes quiet watchers. They rebuilt the Galactic Accord, a pact promising that no civilization would ever fall to destruction again, as long as humanity and its allies stood together. And so, the galaxy entered a new age, not the age of war, but the age of memory. People began to see the stars differently again, no longer as places of danger, but as beacons of stories of mistakes, forgiveness, and rebirth. Children on distant planets learned about Earth and its people, not as legends of power, but as symbols of endurance and hope. And far above, in the quiet depths of space, the Iron Resolve drifted peacefully near Sol Bastion. Inside, its systems hummed softly as the ship recorded the new chapter of history. A voice, the same calm, human tone as before, spoke once more. Observation complete. Humanity restored. The cycle continues, and not in fear, but in light. Then the ship turned slowly toward the stars, its engines glowing like a blue sunrise, and disappeared once again into the unknown. Not as a warship, but as a guardian of peace. The galaxy watched it go in silence, hearts full of awe because they all understood now. The humans had never been monsters. They were reminders of what every being could become when guided not by power, but by purpose. And so, under the endless sky of a billion stars, humanity's story began again.